Hey, when you see fountain pen news, today's Flexploration is Flexploration 2, which is actually Flexploration 2 and 3, because we're going to be talking about Pilot FA Nibs, both the number 10 and the number 15. Be not confused, I have mine in not a Pilot pen. This is the Pilot 743, from which I harvested the number 15 nib. You can see it is not there. It is now housed in this pen, which is a Piper Trading Company, beautiful Bog Monster Turnt Penco resin. And then I put it in there with, you guys have seen me do this before, the Flexible Nib Factory ebonite feed and jowo housing. So I just wanted to go over these. My friend Vincenzo over at Fountain Pen Therapy has a keen interest in this. He acquired the number 15 Pilot nib and has been unhappy with it, so he's anxious to see this as well. So I thought I'd share, and I will do what I did similarly in Flexploration 1. You'll have to pardon my paper being turned, but it's just easier for me to do this writing. So firstly, this is the pink ink is number 10. You can see that one. This is from a Pilot Custom Heritage 912. And the other pen has this teal ink, and that one is the number 15 nib. So firstly, let's do a little, I'm trying to make sure that this focuses on the writing and not on my hand, but I'll get out of the way here in just a second. So everyday writing, I can write fairly small with this, and it works out fine. And you can see I wrote the Flexploration up here with this, but I will write it again here. So what I have found, and I've heard others say this as well, the number 10 nib, although it is a smaller nib, it's hard to talk and write at the same time, the number 10 nib is more flexible than the number 15 nib. And I know that seems a little bit counterintuitive, because in something like a Pelican, you have maybe experienced the smaller nibs are a little stiffer, and then once you get into M1000 territory, they're quite flexible. So anyway, that's everyday writing and flexi with the number 10 nib. And then I can also do reverse writing with this. It doesn't feel great, but I can do it. It feels better than the Fountain Pen Revolution one. And then let me just do the same here with the number 15. So you can see that the nib is very similar. It's just a larger size. Maybe I'll show these guys next to each other here in just a second. But for this one, everyday writing, I feel like I'm shaking the camera a lot. I'm sorry about that. So it's flexy, but not the same. You can see that there's a big difference there. I'm putting about the same amount of pressure, and I can get much more line variation from the number 10 nib. This one is out of a 743, as I showed you. So the bigger nib comes in the 743, and the smaller nib comes in the 912. Reverse also feels terrible. I mean, these could be smoothed out. You could do that if you wanted to, if it was really important to you. But that would also give you, very, very thin to quite thick on both of these, which is kind of cool to have both of those. So let me do some little flourishes with each of these so you can kind of see, make sure I'm in frame here. And yeah, it just has a different feel. This is definitely a softer nib. Now, I had a good conversation with Nick Pang at the Colorado Pen Show about flex and what you should be expecting as far as what you get from the flex and what you get from the snapback. Being able to do the really super thin lines isn't really going to come with this. You can kind of see that it does give kind of a beefy line for a fine, I think. Here is the number 15 nib from the 743, doing some little flourishes, and it feels stiffer. When I put this down on the paper, it just feels not as soft, which softness isn't necessarily the marker, like I said. I'll show you also the snapback on this. I've been trying to figure out how best to do this, and I think I'm going to try to do it on my fingernail to see if you can see that. That's like, this is the makeup influencer portion of today's program. All right, so this is the number 15 nib. So you can see that spread and snap back, spread and snap back. So it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I like it very much. One of the cons to this setup is that it's quite expensive because you can't buy the nib on its own. You have to buy the pen to have the nib. And then I also bought the Flexible Nib Factory 3-slit ebonite feed for both of these, and the housing to go into a jowo pen, because for me it's important to have a cool pen that I want to use, and I also wanted to be able to eyedropper this one, so you know, you have to factor that in, right? So okay, so this is the number 10. Let me make sure that I'm in frame there, and then I'm just gonna flex. You can see it's much softer, and it has a similar amount of snapback. I'd say it's very comparable to the larger nib, but it's just softer. It just is. And so I would say, you know, for pros, it's a really good flex nib. And I know a lot of people really, really like it. I am one of those people. I really like it. One of the cons is that it's quite expensive to do this. If you're happy with the boring Pilot body, then it's not as expensive. But I do recommend changing out the feed, because the feed just cannot keep up with this type of flexible writing. And so let me just write out Flexible Nib Factory. I'll link this down in the, you know. But this is, Vincenzo, if you're watching, this is something you may want to do for your number 15 nib, is get this ebonite feed. In both of these, I have the 3-slit ebonite feed and the, no, not fit, feed, Wendy Sue, 3-slit feed and the jowo housing for the nib. It depends on what you want as far as whether you want to be able to eyedropper the pen or you want to use a cartridge or converter. So this one's eyedroppered, as you can see, and this one has a cartridge or a converter in it. And so this feed that I have is for the converter type. So you can get either or. If you have questions about which one to get, feel free to reach out to me. How to contact me is also in the down there. But let me know what else you guys want to see in these Flexplorations. I am enthusiastic about flexible writing, and so it's really fun for me to explore these and share with you guys, because this is something that I wish I had had access to when I first started using fountain pens for calligraphy, is somebody who had all of these that I could see. So tell me what else you want to see as far as comparing the nibs, looking at the snapback, all of those kinds of things. In the meantime, this is Flexploration 2, Pilot number 10 versus Pilot number 15, not in those pen bodies. Anyway, thanks for watching. Watch for another Flexploration coming your way soon. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Pen news.